clicking on it. There we go.
That too. Okay.
Welcome, everybody. We are so glad you're here and so excited to share Kira Vollman and her new body of work, Allegory. I don't know how long we've known each other, Kira.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think it was through Shoebox. I think you reached out to us. Yeah. And Kira was a client. Oh, there's Michelle's bird. Kira was a client with Shoebox. And then I had a solo show at her gallery in Altadena, Art Gallery. Plus, and I was a juror for a group show there. And then, through social media, we've kept in touch. And then we went for a walk like 2 or 3, 4 months ago, something like that.
A lovely walk. Yes.
Yeah, it was a lovely walk at Descanso Gardens. Yes. And we were talking and we talked about like other shows, and I just it was like instinctual. I'm like, I want to show Kira's work on Shoebox Projects. So,
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I've always loved Kira's work and her inventiveness and experimental and the music and just everything. So,
oh my gosh, thank you.
You're welcome. So so a few months later, it's happening.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and kind of pass it over to Kira. And Kira, if you want to kind of give I'll show the first image. If you want to give an introduction of who you are as an artist and, stuff like that.
Absolutely. So if anyone doesn't know, I'm Kira. I am a sound and visual artist. And what does that mean? I'm a composer, musician, vocalist, but I also make visual art. And when the opportunity presents itself, I put sound with my visual art. I can't help myself. It's sort of in my nature to always up the ante. And if I can make it something that people can experience and engage with, I will do that. And for me, that works most with sound being incorporated into the elements. And usually there are 3-dimensional sculptural elements that I've added something. Most musicians I know will go around, tapping things everywhere they go to see what they sound like. And so I just can't help it. I just do that. And then, oh, wouldn't this be great? I see something and I can hear what it's going to do. My background is as a musician, composer, and visual artist, and I worked as a prop and set stylist for too many years, close to 40 years as that. And that probably plays into my 3-dimensional aspect of what I do, I think. And for a while, I did run Art Gallery in Altadena. And that's kind of a sad story at the moment. It is not happening at the moment. It's on hiatus. And what we have in there right now is a pot dispensary. Yay. But I don't know what will happen when they leave. And I don't know, that kind of brings us to here right now, I think. Is that giving you what you need?
I think so.
Okay.
And, for everybody here, this is kind of an informal artist talk / conversation. Yeah. We want you to chime in with questions, comments, feel free, just to unmute and, and ask a question or anything. Kira, I almost called you Kate, who was our speaker this morning earlier. You talked a little bit about the pandemic and how that affected your work and the series. And can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, it started, I think, with what will be shown as the last piece, which is the count. And with the pandemic and being completely stuck at home for a while, it had started originally with an idea to crochet my hair, because I have very long hair. But then it falls out, so I collect it. But it's not quite enough to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a veil out of my hair. And then I had the idea of I would crochet this very fine wire that is almost as fine as my hair. And then I realized as I was crocheting, I was obsessed watching the news. I mean, I'd be watching the news for 12 hours. And you have to count, I'm making this veil, and it's with a count of stitches for, the chain that then connects to this, that then connects to that. And I realized I was counting deaths. I just connected to the fact that I was counting deaths. And something about crocheting, the hair is going to go into the piece, but not as the veil. It will be as part of the wreath. And I'm going to try and do my version of Victorian hair memorial work that were flowers and things like that. And that wreath will go on this sculpture. I realized everything I was doing was kind of women's work. And I thought that was really interesting, because most of my work I've been told, I don't know, but I've been told you can't tell if it was made by a male or female with a lot of the work. And this work, I thought, was leaning towards looking very much like a female made it, which I'd never really given into. And I went along with it. And I also, with the pandemic, all bets were off. I really thought, well, for a while, I thought we were all going to die. So I thought, just do what you want to do. Who cares? Nothing matters. And then I just kind of got into making my world more my world. It's the isolation and hiding out. And I'm always making things. And I just wanted it to be these creatures or whatever that I surrounded myself with that are planet Kira. And that's where this all started in terms of what you're seeing here. And a lot of things are from materials that I just had lying around, or pieces that had been started that had been abandoned or just put aside for a while. All of a sudden, because there was nowhere I was going to go shopping for anything, I just went shopping through all my bins and my shelves and just used what I had available. And here we are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Gosh, I think the pandemic affected all of us in many ways on so many different levels.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And let me see, I'm going to keep it. Oh yeah. Planet Kira. Exactly. I love that. And if you have any questions, and whether you unmute or want to share in chat, I'll keep an eye on chat also.
Let me try and get the chat up.
So Kira, do you want to tell us about the first, this first set of works, and then we'll, look at the video too?
Absolutely. Okay. So these are the first 4 pieces for an intended 7 pieces. 7 and 7 is, for those of you of a certain age, you will know that 7 and 7 is a song by the band Love. And 7 is that magical number that has, it's considered a lucky number. They're the 7 deadly sins. It shows up in religions. There's 7 wonders of the world, the Holy Spirits, virtues, arts and sciences, days of the week. And actually, if you scroll to the last one, which is my samurai, there you go, the 7th samurai. So I always twist things around on themselves. And so I will have 7 ultimately of these, and they're all sonic interactive. This one has baritone and bass strings on it. And it's mixed up because at the top of the piece, which is so the tuning pegs at the top, because they're at that angle, I had to use the smaller scale strings in order to have them stay on, because bigger strings at that angle would not stay on. They would slide off the edges. And also I have to get up on a step ladder to tune this because it's so tall. But so this one has baritone and bass strings. And if we go back, I can tell you what each of the other things, and it looks like a samurai to me. So that's why, I think of him as a samurai. This one was, so in the head, that's a candle holder that I was in a store and I'm tapping things and so, oh my God, every one of those little cups for round little ball candles sounded different, even if they were the same size and on the same length bar. So I had to cut pieces so that it would fit within the framework. And so that one's candle holders. And the next one up, those are toy piano tines that are cut. So some of them are shorter because they were shorter, and then the longer ones at a certain angle had to be cut to fit the frame. And it didn't matter what the tuning was going to be. I just wanted it to do what it would do. And then the very first one, that one, those are cheese slicers, vintage cheese slicers. And so you can pluck those, and there are different tunings on those.
Awesome. Let's watch a video. Let's see. There's a couple of videos on here, and you can go and watch these in length later on, but we'll watch like
just a snippet of that one.
Yeah, a little bit. Hopefully everybody can hear. That's so awesome.
It was very fun to do. And I don't know if you want me to talk at all about what the components are of the pieces in terms of the costumes that are on them, it's like soft sculpture costumes. I can do it from like just what we're seeing here right now from the video thing. The one on the left of me with the roses. Yeah. So those, actually, we might have to see the full outfit to really understand what's going on with that. So we can go to any of them. This piece here, those roses, that's a photograph of roses that I printed on cotton fabric, hand cut out, and then glued on and collaged onto a cotton undergarment, and then made this mesh shirt that goes over it. And I made a little rosette there to mimic the roses in that. And this is found, the skirt is all found micron mesh, like it comes on rolls and it always gets crumpled. When you find it, it's already destroyed. It can tear so easily, yes. And then the striped things that are like little ribbons are from feeler gauge shim stock, which is used for feeling the space between things. I don't know if it's used for automotive, like if you wear spark plug gaps and things like that. Anyway, it's feeler gauge shim stock as the ribbon. And then there's tricotine mesh, which was vintage, almost 100 years old, or maybe it is 100 years old now, millinery mesh that was used to wrap flowers and leaves and stuff that they would put on hats. They'd wrap them with this really fine, almost like nylon stocking fine mesh that I used for the belt here.
Great. And you can, later on, she lists everything that's used in the details along with the titles. And she had mentioned before, this one is 7 and 7.
If you don't know the songs or the song, 7 and 7 has this sort of refrain that is oop, ip, ip, oop, ip, ip, yeah. So I've named the pieces. It'll be, thank you very much. Yes, so I have an oop, an ip, and an ip, and a yeah, but I need another oop and another ip and an ip. Yeah, 3 more to go. These right there, those are little, like my rosettes on the side, those are VCR drum heads, I think they're called. Then there's a bunch of scrap metal, and this, trimmed in leather. This is trimmed in leather, and actually I should say, this was originally made a little differently, and I wore it in an sort of improvised opera that was done. And So it has been worn, it can be worn, but I then changed it for this and added all sorts of, around this extra wire around the neck, the belt, and then the whole head. This was just as a dress, something I wore once and then incorporated it for this.
So great. Oops, I think that was, let's see. Oh yeah. And
now that's mainly micron mesh. And then the sleeves and the bust are out of found, just crimped metal mesh. And that's all used usually for filtration of some sort. And then these are vintage little fan motors. I don't know, not motors, motor fans. I don't know what they go to. I just found a bunch of them and they looked cool, but I don't know what they go to. I don't know if they're for inside of computers or inside of, I don't know what they cool, but they're little fans. And that's just scrap metal.
I love it as like this necklace.
I know, it's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the chest area of him, you wouldn't be able to tell at all. It started out as a photograph of the front of a ship that I took off of the TV screen. It was a ship that had all this scaffolding around it. It looked amazing. And I took it and altered it in Photoshop and then did a whole bunch of Photoshop stuff to it, printed it out. And when I put it on this, I just didn't like how it was looking. So then I painted with silver paint in all the areas that I didn't like what was happening. It just wasn't looking right to me. So it's a photo and paint underneath. These are battery tie downs. I don't know if my cursor's working on there. Those are the battery tie downs. Okay. And there's copper. So the copper mesh is, rodent mesh to keep out rats and things, critters from places. And then at the bottom, we've got garden label tags that are copper and more mesh, more stuff. I don't know what it is. It's just, trash I find that looks amazing. So, and even down the front of the skirt part, that's all sonic as well. You can hit that and it's kind of that like a thunder sheet, but it's really thin and small. So it's not thunderous. It's just kind of a thing.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing about those. And then, the next parts of your work.
Okay, so the 16mm snippets, they literally are pieces left over from a larger piece that I had done a few years ago called 16mm, which was a 16-foot long piece with these photographs collaged onto it. And I had these leftover pieces and I thought of them as clips you might find on a cutting room floor from a film. So since I had this one clip that was this long 16-foot piece, I thought, I'll use these as snippets. And it was really just putting these together with elements I had lying around my studio. Like, what am I going to do? And so I put them together with the finial and the weaving. It's a vintage or antique weaving. I don't know what you call it, but that's what it is. The thing on the back, you put threads or, yeah.
Oh, great. And there is a question about the individual pieces above. I think they're all 7. I think you explained it about the song. They're all 7 and 7, and then
those 4 pieces are 4 from 7 and 7 is, which I still have 3 more to do. Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you. All right, and then let's see. To this piece.
Okay, Bye Bye Brixie, sort of a play on Bye Bye Birdie, which is a film from like the 60s. I think it's the 60s. Could have been the 50s. I don't know. My stepmother, her nickname was Brixie, and she had this piece of driftwood that looked like a bird head, and she died in the end of 2018. And so this is for her. And so I made a bird for her because I knew she kept it because she loved birds and that it looked like a bird head. So I made it into a bird. And this is sort of the sense of a nest, but sort of the sense of flight. And it's made out of goat hide, and I think they're TIG welding rods, but I'm not sure. They're just rods I had. You know, when I buy stuff from scrap places, I don't know what they are. It's like, oh, look, a box is something interesting. I don't know what that is, but it looks cool. So I just get whatever it is. And that's an oak gall. And this is just sort of an homage to my stepmom.
Oh, it's great. And it's so, you know, these look like sails too.
They look like sails. They look like wings. Yeah, it's just, and I was going to do sails with this sort of thing on a larger scale for something else. And that's kind of the plan. I just haven't got there yet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Okay, now this piece. Okay. My title for this is, because it's a long one. Let's get to that. The diminished capacity of Maison Schiaparelli. Okay, Maison Schiaparelli, Elsa Schiaparelli's shop kind of fell apart, and it still exists, but what it was, it kind of fell apart. And because something about this, just as I was building it, reminded me of her shoe hat. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Elsa Schiaparelli as a designer. She worked with Dali, she worked with the Dadaists, and she did a shoe hat that has this shape, and it's just kind of this wacky thing. She did a lot of kind of wacky stuff, and so the shape of this reminded me of that. And as I was, you know, working it, I was using these capacitors and the mesh again, of course, and scrap metal again, of course, and then I painted. But I'm, you know, in the process of this piece, and then I saw Monica Wyatt's work, and she uses capacitors, and it's kind of like, crap, do I have to like scrap it or what? And she and I had a talk about, there was another piece of hers I saw that I went, God, I have a whole box of those. And turns out we shop at the same place, the same scrap place. And so it's a tough call when you're like, it's not a tough call if you haven't started the work. Then you can just go, okay, I got to put this aside. When you've started it, it's kind of, you agonize over, okay, I know it's different from her work. It's completely different, but is it going to be a problem? And I just decided I would finish this regardless and then move on. And I probably will never touch another capacitor in my life. You know, that's the end of the capacitors. Yes.
You know, you're using them in a totally different way. I mean, I love how there are symbols of like flowers and
I know,
you know, yeah.
And the bust part, the under the bust, you know, I don't know what it is about underwire bras. You know, the wires sometimes just come out. And so, and I don't know why I save them, but I do. And so I used underwires from a couple of bras for that framework. Yeah.
That's great. Like somebody said, I love the way your mind works.
I don't see the chat, so I'm not seeing any of that.
Yeah, I can, you know, don't worry about it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, my work, I made a decision to not sell my work. But I was trying to think, well, if I had to sell, what would I do that I could sell? Because most of it's just, I can't. It just takes me way too long to make it. There's no way I can get the sort of price for it that makes it worth selling. There's just no point. But then I had this idea of making a dreamscape pillow. And I realized, oh, instead of canvas, I could make a whole bunch of pillows, and I could sell pillows that are these mesh pillowcases, and I can put inside dreams. And that could be something if I felt I absolutely had to sell work. The only reason for selling work is because a lot of calls demand it. And so I can't even show at a gallery if they're saying, I mean, you know, 825, I was going to submit to something there and it said the work has to be for sale. It's like, well, I can't do that. You know, the work I would want to have submitted, I can't sell. So I'm trying to come up with something that I could, but then it does limit what I would show. at a gallery. And so it's sort of a quandary, and that's where I'm at with it. And since dreams do what dreams do, I mean, it's just sort of, you've got this pillow and you can put any world in the pillow and it will make sense. And we'll find out later that there are other worlds in pillows.
I love that.
Futility. Yes. I don't know why I did this piece, but I did. It was not easy because I'm stupid. And to get into the center, you have to hover, you know, like from your hips over something that is, you know, so far, so long that you can barely reach. It's just kind of an impossible piece. And it sat around partially made for a while. And then I finished it for this show. It had to be, you know, different elements that, oh, you're not seeing, I use my cursor, I can't. At the hub, I had to add some more work into the hub, and then I had to paint the cane part of it to match it in some way what the branches looked like, because it didn't look anything like the branches. And it's darker, I don't care about that. I just didn't want it to look completely like just this brown cane that had a glossy finish to it. So yeah. And I have a disco ball motor for it, which this video doesn't have it on the disco ball, but this is a facsimile of what that would be like.
Is the disco ball motor in the center there?
No, it would be suspend up in the rafters,
gotcha. Okay.
And then this would just
great
from it. Some people like to disco dance with a glittery ball. I like to float around with branches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This piece, okay. My infant chastity belt, safety equipment playground swing, or playground safety equipment swing, whatever. Here's the deal. I always bitch about being a female. I mean, don't get me started, because I can really go to town about how much I hate being born a woman. And I was on a rant about it. And then I did what I do at night, which is I lull myself to sleep with Law and Order. And quite often it's SVU, Special Victims Unit, which is the sex crimes unit. And I don't know what they were showing because I fall asleep. I don't know how it affected my dreams, but I had a dream that I was a man. How cool. I was a man. In my dream, I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, first thing I'm going to do is stand up and, you know, pee in the morning standing up. Then I got to like check out how it works. I'm going to, you know, like this is going to be fun. And then I woke up in the middle of the night, absolutely panicked, drenched in sweat, just freaking out because I was a man, but I was a pedophile in my dream. I mean, actually, I just got like a complete wave of fear. The dream was so fucking frightening, pardon me, but it was just so horrifying. And that's where this came from. And I don't think anyone's going to let me show it anywhere, to be honest. Thank you, Christine, for letting me go out here, because I don't think I submitted it to something and it's like, no. But
the right gallery will show it.
I'm sorry?
The right gallery will show it.
Yes, exactly. And basically, you know, the hidden thing here is be careful what you wish for. You know, if I were to be a man, there is, what the hell? Yeah, that could be a nightmare. So I'm sticking with this. Yeah. And this, there is a motor sound for this. There's actually, yeah, there is sound. But that's okay.
Great.
It's on a swinging motor. It's probably, I think I got it from one of those Halloween shops where you can suspend something in your yard and scare people with things swinging out. So I put it on that.
Awesome. No, it's a powerful piece, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. And it's and the other thing about it is I could have made it kind of more brutish and ugly, but I really wanted people to have that sense of how disturbing it is that the piece is cute. You know, like that's kind of messed up. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they have to look at it more closely.
Yeah.
You know, to see the underlying messages.
Yeah. Okay, now this piece. All right. The center triangular round, you know, conical shaped area that has the nails in it. It was a piece I had lying around, and it was all one color, but the sections of wood, they are stacked like that. And the wood went in different directions. And when I saw it, I immediately saw it as something striped. And in my head, when I saw it striped, I went, oh my God, das triadische ballet. And so, but I don't know why. I also saw it as an Nkisi, I don't know how you say it, in Nkisi and Kondi, you know, the Congo nail fetish sort of thing. And so I saw it as a Congo nail fetish figure meets das triadische ballet. And I had toyed with the base, that metal bristle thing at the bottom, scrubber, being on a base, but it took away from the feeling of it being able to skitter away. And for me, it looks like it might just go away from us, you know. So yeah, anyway, Oscar, Visite di Congo. Yeah.
I love that. I almost feel like it needs an electric motor to skitter away.
Well, I'm not opposed to adding motors, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's actually a really elegant piece.
I really like it myself. And actually that brings up a point. I shamefully actually like my work too much. I shouldn't like my own work as much as I do, but I do, you know. I make it to entertain myself, and I hope that other people are entertained as well. I'm having fun, and I'm just, you know, there it is. I present it. Hopefully other people are entertained.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes. Okay. So the little princess, she's the wee version of this, like the 7 and 7. She's the start. Well, she's not the start of it. The idea for the 7 and 7 was first, but then I knew I wanted to make a little princess out of this smaller housing, whatever it is. And she took a really long time to make. And because I kept calling her the little princess, I knew I wanted her to have this sort of feel. And then she went along, I kept calling her the little princess. And one day I was sitting on eBay and I just put in the little princess just to see, and Shirley Temple, just to see what would come up. And boom, there was this 16 millimeter commercial trailer for the little princess. So as to our point of view, the ribbon of it coming down the left side of the gown, Shirley Temple is in those frames. She's not in all the other frames, but she's in that frame. And I also wanted her to be holding something. And I have these doll eyes, some leftover pieces from a piece I did years ago that used doll eyes. And I decided she should then have, you know, be a nod to St. Lucy, and which is, you know, Francesco del Cosa's St. Lucy. Where am I with my notes here? I've got notes actually, just in case I lose my, anyway. Yeah, so this bodice is crocheted and hand sewn with the metal sequins and metal beads. Oh, there you go. So on the left of that, sort of down by a tub, that's Shirley Temple. In case anyone cares, in case anyone's old enough to remember her. The other thing, so the allegory thing, having hidden meanings in here. The other thing with this piece is that she is a suffragette. The suffragettes used green, white, and violet for give women the vote. And this has green, gold, and then the silver as the white, and then the violet in the mesh and in the film, which somehow is a very violet color in person. And so she's also a suffragette.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. And she has banjo strings in her head. And there is a little demo. It's a rough demo. It's before she was, the video is before she was finished. And I just did a really quickie rough demo.
So good.
And there's a delay on there that helps me keep in time. And I still got out of time because that's what I'm known for, is getting out of time. Yeah. Okay. This guy, Tosger. Tosger is the name, and it is a Gaelic word for an ambassador. So he is basically an ambassador. He has a cavity in his belly, and in that cavity, I have a mini amp, and I have a circuit bent toy that is by F-Hole Effects, which is Joe Berardi's company. Joe's actually over there somewhere. That's where I see him. Hi. And so in the cavity, I have the sound elements. And so this little mini amp, just, I couldn't believe it fit in there. And it's something of a Trojan horse. He's on wheels. He's got, and he's got this rope ladder. The rope ladder, and part of him was made a while ago, and I finished him just for this show. The rope for this, so I got a crappy rope ladder from probably eBay, my go-to source, and took out all the rope and then put in this antique metal cording that is, I mean, it's like the metal mesh is metallic, it's metal. I mean, when you feel it, it's cold and metal, but it's cord that was used for, curtains or whatever at the time, and sheepskin at the bottom. And he has a wonderful sound. And with Joe's circuit bent things, you can change the sounds. So this is the sound I came up with that I really loved for him. I don't hear him, but maybe you hear him. I don't hear him.
Oh yeah, you can hear it.
No, I don't hear him.
I don't know if anybody else can hear it.
No.
Oh no, okay.
I know.
Did you hear the other ones?
No, he's on. Yeah, I could hear all the others. I just don't hear.
Oh, weird. Him. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to go back and watch the.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this piece, Witch is Well. Witch is Well is a play on witches well, as in flying witches. Ooh. And basically, it's also a take on, or my take on, the burning of witches at the stake in Scotland. Now, I am Scottish in terms of heritage. My mother was born and raised there, and my mom had flaming red hair, and mine was very ginger when I was younger. And it was always a joke that we would have been burned at the stakes. It's just like our humor. And I was watching a show that was all about the burning of witches in Scotland and the deaths. And over 4,000 people in Scotland were killed, and most of them burned, and most of them women, as witches. And in Edinburgh, Scotland, there is a fountain that's called the Witch's Well. I don't know who's doing this. Sorry. They're apologizing for missing this. Anyway, so it's kind of hard to tell, but that's a crown of thorns at the top, and the snake is coming out of the crown of thorns. And King James was the one who started the whole thing, and it was basically a religious thing. He just felt that anyone practicing witchcraft, or people that looked like they might have practiced witchcraft, or if they had special healing powers or anything like that, that it was in the name of the church that they were going to be put to death. And So I'm asking the question kind of which is well in terms of the crown of thorns, and that being the church, and then you've got the snake. And in the fountain, the imagery there is, oh my gosh, what's the foxglove plant and Aesculapius, is that the right pronunciation? And Hygeia. So these are, Aesculapius was a god of medicine, and his daughter was like a goddess of health. And so they are represented on this plaque, this relief of the fountain with a snake. And this fountain was built as a memorial to those burned as witches or killed as witches. So it's sort of, I just wrap it all up in one weird thing.
That's a wonderful piece. Is the snake, was that all one piece of wood?
It's all one piece of wood till you get to the neck head part of it. And then that is clay. I'm sorry, let me turn this off. That is clay on, like stuffed metal mesh, what do you call it? The sculpting, like hard cloth that you sculpt with. It's a support for the clay. So it's clay on that and then painted. So I morphed them.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It looks like one piece of wood. It's amazing.
Well, it is one piece of wood till you get to there. And then that is all sculpted. And I had painted it originally with scales, and it looked just not cartoonish, but it reminded me of, I don't remember what you call the Mexican folk art that has the bright colors, and it just had a feeling that was not what I wanted. And I realized I needed to just paint the snake to look more like the wood. And then if you can't see in these photos, but if you look closely, you'll see little bits of scale underneath the paint. So yeah.
Wow. Wonderful piece.
Thank you. All right. My bodysuit torso. Okay. Back before, I always thought the world was insane, but before I thought it was as crazy as I think it is now. For the 2020 election, leading up to it, I decided to do this whole series of weird little posts with, can you see PT Rump? Okay, PT Rump, I'm sorry, he has no pants on right now, but the doll doesn't come looking like this. I painted the doll to age him and make him look more like Trump. And I made a little bodysuit for him so that the body was more like his body now. And actually, Joe circuit bent him for me so that I could play him. So I did this series of videos. I even have a small scale guillotine, and I have a video of me like cranking the blade of the guillotine up. And I was going to continue with the series, but things got so crazy that I just thought I shouldn't. I thought I should abandon anything that had to do with Trump and how I feel about him. And I always knew that I loved the little body, which fit on, I thought of it like paper dolls, but it's just like a harness over the front. And so this is doll sized. And I always knew that I just loved how it turned out and wanted to have a whole bunch of them. And then I thought, oh gosh, with the goat hide from Bye Bye Brixie, I thought I could do big ones with goat hide and wire and blah, blah, blah. And people could try them on, they could wear them. I just pictured these torsos around a gallery and people walking around wearing different torsos. I don't know. I just thought that would be fun. That's how he came about.
When you initially said my torso, or at the beginning, I thought, at first I had to go back and look at the size. Because I could definitely, life size would be amazing.
Wouldn't it? But this is done with clay and wire support inside and stuff. It would be too heavy, but I realized I could with the goat hide. I could do some really interesting bodysuits that people just put on and hello. Yeah.
And the layers of identity, and your
yes,
about being a man.
exactly.
Yeah.
There I go again, wanting to be a man. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I would have all different shapes and sizes, and you just live in it for a while, just visit it. Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, we come back to another dreamscape. And this, the top, okay, this is photographs, and the photographs have been collaged. You can't see everything in them at the moment. But the top left is a male figure with this weird house or something that was in the background of a shot. And I took this photograph off of TV, and it was one of those moments of putting the TV on pause to go and get up and do something. And right at that moment, the frame changed and this thing became the head on the torso. And I just kind of freaked out, loving it. So I took a whole bunch of photos of that. And that is what the top is. Then to the right of that is the view from our backyard on a foggy day, but then you can't really see under the mesh. There's a face from a fountain in Europe there. Then there's a walkway on the left. And then there's this hall that just is mysterious. And then there is the sheep head on the figure. And the figure, yes, it is mine. And it's from a few years ago. I probably wouldn't do it now, but I did have to actually make the ass bigger to make it look more interesting because it just looked kind of sad. But I just put it all together as a dreamscape. And that's just to show the different layers of the photos in the acrylic frames, blocks.
Your work has always had this surreal element going through it. And I love how you're diving deeper into ideas of dreams, especially since you've been having these dreams.
Thank you. I like it too. And it's funny because I don't think I thought of my work as surreal until recently. It wasn't until recently that I looked at it and went, oh, yeah, this is all a bit on the surreal side. And I had submitted to Oka for the show Surrealism Now that Andy had curated. And I got into that and I thought, well, see, that's like one out of a whole bunch that I could qualify for. And I was really happy to be part of that. And I think that's where I met Michelle, actually, was at that show. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. But yes, surrealism seems to be the route I'm going to probably just go further into. This is another dreamscape. And okay, the photograph that's the biggest one, that is a reflection of me in the glass of a place with bushes on the other side, but they were showing through. It just had this really weird effect. And for some reason, I didn't even notice when I first took it that these two leaves lined up where my eyes were. And then I'd always thought that it looked like I was in an aquarium. So I put a couple of fish in there with me. And it's just a bunch of like thoughts and dreams put together. I don't even know, how do you explain dreams, right? Yeah.
Exactly. No, I love this series.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Woolly Bully. For those of you who don't know, Woolly Bully was a song by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, and this has nothing to do with it. But it's a woolly bully. So bully is an Irish word for a temporary shelter. And it has another meaning as well, but for this purpose, it is the temporary shelter. I did a series of videos. Well, let me back up. The video surveillance monitor there with the 4 screens, I found that at a thrift store. And it was one of those things I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. Plug it in, it lights up, take your chances. got it. I've since then found a whole bunch of them somewhere. I'd have to try them all out, but I don't think I need to do this sort of thing again. I've been lugging that thing around for, I don't know how many years. It could be 20 years. I've been lugging it around, doing nothing with it. And then this box, it's a box for, as you can see, it's a rack for gear, whether it be video gear, electronic gear, for sound, whatever. And I used it to hold these loopers, Jam Man looping things for years. And it's just been sitting, not being used, because technology is such that everything gets smaller and smaller. You don't need this and nobody wants it, and therefore you can't get rid of it. It's this box. You got this big woolly box. What the hell are you going to do with it? My brain just went, well, I'm going to stick woolly balls on it. And then, because I was in a crochet mode, I got this wool that I can't find more of that had fluffy little balls in the wool. And so I crocheted there. And then I just incorporated different videos that I'd shot that I will use for other things. I even have a video of an older piece that has, it's called Away to Fiddler's Green. And it has a little boat with budgie wings as sails, and it's sailing down sand through these arches and off into the distance. Well, I did a stop motion video of it and used it in here. And so I've just got all these different little things. And all it is, really, the meaning behind it is nothing. It's just a woolly box with woolly balls, and let's make it weird. That's what it is. And this has sound.
Can you hear it? You can hear it, Kira?
Yeah, now I can.
Oh, okay. So great.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The one shot where you see the hands up and the face, yeah, that on the left, yes. That's just a plush blanket that I liked the reflections from the window on one day, and then I put my hand down. I went, oh, I'm going to do, and it's kind of mimicking a Maya Deren thing with the hands against a window. And I just smushed my face into the plush blanket and then, drew it out to make it more discernible as a face, not to say mine, but a face. Yeah.
Great.
And here we come to this piece. Yes, the count. All right, this shot is foreshortened because I had to do it in my studio, or I was originally planning to do it in the gallery, which I don't have as a gallery anymore. And my studio is not big enough to really shoot this and have enough wall space and have it clean. This is a work in progress. This was started in March of 2020. This is the crochet, the veil. That would have been my hair, but I'm going to have a wreath with my hair and whatever. And every stitch represents a COVID death. And I have at this point 1 million stitches. I will, for aesthetic purposes, add a little bit more to a couple of pieces on the bottom. To shoot this, I had it on sneeze guards that were stacked up and an acrylic block and then an upside down acrylic salad bowl, because I got it in my head that it had to be transparent. Once again, I'm an idiot. It's not the simplest thing to do. I didn't want to use chicken wire and have it support it and yet you'd see it. I want it transparent. So I'm going to have something fabricated. And with that, I'm thinking of doing it in two sections. So I'd have a amorphous but hinting at a figure on the pedestal. And for scale purposes, that pedestal is at the bottom 40 inches wide. Yeah. And that's how, yeah. And that shows you how fine the wire is. And this is bifilar and trifilar wire. So it's 3-wire and 2-wire twisted in different colors to make 1 wire. I chose to use the different colored wire to represent people of the world and different cultures and whatever, because we're all in COVID together. And I chose the 1 million mark as my end point just because my hands are trashed. I can't go too much longer with it because it's just too much. And I think 1 million stitches pretty much says, you know, how massive this was in terms of deaths, you know, and I show that I made the pedestal out of, okay, that's a fire pit ring and corrugated tin that I cut to look like the flutes on a column. And I'm showing this because I had someone once say something, so you don't actually make anything, do you? Because I use so many things that I find somewhere and do something else with them. And I went, okay, I'm going to show you, you know, like I'm making this from here to there to there. And so I'm just showing that I have a lot of shots of the crochet in progress, but in terms of showing what the end result will be, this is all I've got. Well, I have more, I just haven't photoshopped the hell out of them to give it a fake wall where there is no wall. And I think that the figure would be there, but what I want is on the floor, I'd like to have acrylic almost undulating so that the way the veil on the floor is sort of off the floor and floating. That's going to be something fun for me to figure out. Yeah.
Beautiful and powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope, you know, when it's done that it will be that much more so. Yes. Yeah. So I have all these components everywhere for things. And I feel, you know, I'm so happy I got done what I did for this. And then I think, oh, I wish I'd got my large, you know, my giant squid done or this or that. But, you know, I guess
it's a lot of work that you did. Yeah. You know, there's a lot here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the end of the exhibition. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and open it up to any questions, you know, comments, any, you know, yeah, please go ahead and unmute. And, you know, if you have anything you want to say or.
I'm so glad I came. This was wonderful, Kira.
Oh, thanks, Carmack. It's good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. So I was wondering, since you're saying you don't sell your work, do you hold on to it and?
Yes.
I mean, I know LA is a big city, so there's probably, maybe you have a place to store it, but that's pretty amazing if you do.
Sorry, 1 second. No, I had a storage space. There. I had a storage space. I got rid of it, and I had been storing in a part of the gallery for a while. So one of the units of the gallery, and then that all went away and I had to move everything. I mean, just in the last few months, I had to move everything out. And so right now I'm very, very cramped and I don't know how I'm going to manage that because, well, look, it's not stuff you could put on a wall. You know, I mean, what are you going to do with one of the 7 and 7 is? You know, where would someone put it? And they can't be separated. You can't take them out of the group. So it's a whole big thing. And I am not someone who commands, you know, prices and those kind of sales. So it's just simpler to take everything off the market, and I find a way to put them somewhere. I mean, I toy with the idea of buying a place like in Nevada and just a big place to like create my own world and sort of like, you know, in Marfa, Texas or whatever, you know, just doing my own little planet. Yeah.
Your own little Winchester mystery house.
Well, Yeah, with staircases to nowhere. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
That.
Well, when you get that set up, I'd love to come visit.
Okay, you're invited. Yeah.
Touring performances, maybe. Robert is mentioning in chat.
Oh, I don't know about that. Touring is not an easy thing to do, you know. It's not an easy thing to do strictly as a musician. To add on top of it, like, let's go do it as a musician with these large scale, well, they're not large scale, but larger than human scale, sculptural elements, and just making it a whole thing that tours around. That would be a big challenge. Once again, I think money is an issue there for how to get it to wherever it would go. I mean, I would tend to stay local as much as possible with stuff like this, at the level I'm at. You know, that's just how I feel about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Any other questions?
Could you, I'm sorry, I saw that there was, when you showed the one video of the music, of playing the instruments, I saw there was a second one, which looked like a duet with you and Joe. Could we watch that?
That is correct. You can go to YouTube or go to my website, and you can find that video there, because I don't think we're going to go back to any of that right now. But yeah, yes, okay. That's me. I invited Joe that's Joe Berardi, everybody who doesn't know. Wave, Joe. Say hi. Yeah, Joe Berardi, who's my music partner in our project that we've had for a hell of a long time, called Non Credo. And so whenever I'm going to do something kind of wacky and wild with music, he tends to get invited to participate. Yeah.
And you can watch the video in the online exhibition. I just put the link in.
Right. Okay.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Kira. This was such a delight. And, you know, yeah, it's just, you know, amazing seeing where your brain goes and what you do with like materials that you just collect. And yeah, it's really amazing.
Way too much of it. I collect way too much, but I think most artists do.
Yeah, exactly.
Christine, I can't thank you enough for asking me to do this. I'm thrilled I did it, and I'm really happy to see all your faces. Thank you for coming to this today. I really appreciate it a lot.
You're welcome. Well, I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Saturday, maybe going to other art openings or getting in the studio like I'm going to do.
There you go. Get some good work done. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Kira.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye.